Now the next tip, or really to talk about, is structure points and hit points of a vehicle. If you look at this thing, you'll notice that the hit points below is 837. So I want to talk about what gets us to that point. So if we strip this vehicle bare again, our little crap vehicle, we'll throw on our starter tires, starter wheels, there we go. So let's calculate this up and see what people might think, right? Here we got a cab that gives us 210 structure. We have a frame that gives us 420 structure. Or not 420, sorry, 42 structure points. 42 structure points. We have a wheel that gives us 50 structure. This wheel also gives us 50 structure. So 4 wheels, that's 200. Then we have 42 down here, so 242 plus 210. So you might think we should be getting 452 structure points. Would sound about right. However, watch what happens when we test drive this. We have 210. That's because the hit point is the cab's hit points. That's what you see when you're test driving on the bottom there. As soon as our cab dies, we die. So 210 points is what this vehicle can take if shot directly in the cab. However, each one of these parts has its own structure points, and those can absorb, for instance, the tires can be shot for 50 each before they pop, and the frame can be shot for 46 before they pop. So if those got shot before the cab did, then you might have a total of 452 structure points. But most likely, since the cab is the biggest piece and it's sitting above everything else, the cab's going to be the only thing being hit. You're going to be dead as soon as 210 hit points is gone. So how do we fix that? Let's go here. When you hover over these parts, this grill one, for instance, has a structure of 11, but it's white. Notice that means that it does not have any ability whatsoever to add to the hit points of your cab. However, this avian double slope has a green thing. This increases vehicle structure by 50. So if I stick this on top of this, I go back and test drive, I now have 260 points because that 50 points adds to my cab hit points. That means if I stick it back here, and I went, let's put on our little gun here. Let's put on a cord. Go test drive it. Yay! Now whenever you see yellow hit points, that means I'm hitting something explosive or the cab. So, I'm hitting the cab right now, because there's no explosive parts on this vehicle. As soon as I get to 260 hit points, this thing will pop. Pop. Right? If I take off that part, it won't. Now, if I were to put on, let's do this. Let's put on this. I want to show this off right here. Right, each one of those parts right there added 22 structures, so there should be an extra 44 structure. That's right, there's not. It's still just 260. Now, let's go shoot. When I shoot that white part, notice you're still seeing some yellow. That means that some of my bullets are actually going through these grills and hitting my cab. But notice that those grills in the front are taking a lot less damage. That means it's going to take a lot longer for this machine gun to get through the 22 structure points on each of those, because it's passing a lot of that damage through. Alright, and there's a reason for that, why that is actually a wanted behavior. So, another thing to note is that when I add these parts to give health, it doesn't really matter where it's at, whether it's the front or the back, it's still going to give me the same amount of health. Now, is there any difference in damage peel off? That's what you really want to know. So, 7, 7, 10, 7, 10. How much comes off the cab when I hit the cab? 10, 3, 10, 3, 10, 3. So, 7, 7. So there's really not any damage difference. That means that if I were to go back here, build, stick this all in the back, test drive, other than this being back heavy now. But if I come back out here and shoot this guy in just the cab right here, it would still take me the same amount of time as if I was shooting straight through the back here. There's no difference in how long it would take me to kill this vehicle, whether I'm hitting that cab or not. So unless the weapon has some kind of bonus for hitting the cab, sticking the armor in the front versus the back, as long as it's got the green structure points, isn't really going to make a difference, because all this is doing is adding to your hit point pool, right? Where this does make a difference is in the way the cannon mechanics work, right? Cannon mechanics do work in such a way that it does a radius of damage on what it hits. So do I have just a regular cannon? No, I don't. So we're going to slap on a judge. So, because there's a sphere of damage that the cannon does, the further away this piece is from other pieces, the less damage my cannon will do. 161. Now, how much damage would I have done if I hit from the side? 105 is all I did to the cab. Because remember, the cab is the only one that does yellow. The rest of those white parts were the other parts that the sphere of damage actually did damage to. So, my cab has a resistance to cannon fire. So to be honest, you would do better just to get hit in the cab with a cannon than to get hit through those armor pieces. Now the next thing to look at is, what about those white pieces? Do they have any damage? Right. Well, let's do it like this actually. Now let's go shoot one of these in the back. Straight on. So, there we go. Well, look at that. We did 122 points of damage, but look, none of those parts broke off. None of that. Some of it went through to the yellow. And the reason for that is because some of that damage just passes through this stuff, through the white ones, the grills, and some of that damage I think there's an explosive reduction. So there's explosive reduction I'm not sure of for sure, but it does pass some of that damage through, meaning not all damage applied from the cannon is getting applied to those grill parts, which is nice to know. It means that you will take less damage if shot in a grill by a cannon. So even though those white parts add no structural advantage as far as hit points go, they do add advantage wherein being utilized to absorb damage or to keep that part around for connection purposes. So that brings us to the next kind of tip, right? How to connect parts to your vehicle. What should you think about when connecting a part to a vehicle? So, like I said, if you wanted to keep a vehicle around, you'd probably want to use grills when connecting. So if I did something like this right here, watch this. I'm going to go like that and like this. That's 1, 2, 3 right here. So if I take this cord and put it up here, now remember from machine gun fire, it's going to pass through those grills. That means these grills are going to last a lot longer when being shot by machine guns. See, the cab's taking way more damage than those grills are. And that's because they're passing through. Some of that damage is just passing through those grills. That means I'm going to have to shoot through all of those grills before that gun comes off. Right? And since I use 3 parts for connections, it lasts a lot longer. Now what would happen if I were to just leave 1 part on? Let's go back. See? I'm going to go shoot off just that grill. And once that grill goes, so will that cannon. Or that machine gun. Boom. Didn't even have to shoot the machine gun. All you have to do is hit the parts that are holding it together. So think about how many connection points there are, right? There's 4 connection points on here. And having 1 piece on the cab means the cab has to go before the gun does, right? And if the cab goes, you're dead anyways. That's why a lot of people like to cab mount. And the reason people put guns on the back of their vehicle has to do with angle of fire. If I'm lower and I'm shooting up, I'm going to clip this cab before I hit that gun, most times. The further back this is from a forward shot, the harder it is for a lower profile vehicle to shoot that gun. Even higher profile cannons have to hit further back. They're most likely going to hit this cab. So that's why you see people mount their guns further back. If I stick my gun out here in the front on the cab, even on a low profile, that thing sticks out like a sore thumb and I'm going to hit it. Boom. And this gun is going to be gone real fast. Alright, that's why you'll see some people use a bunch of grill parts and mount it in the back and throw their gun as far back as possible, like this. Now that cab is going to take all that damage before that gun does from a front. Now it makes it more vulnerable from the back, but most people fight with their face forward.